A former high school football star whose dreams were cut short by tragedy is still finding a way to make impact plays on a new field. WMC Action News 5's Chris Luther introduces you to the man who's getting recognized by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame and brings his inspiring story.
Like many former athletes, Mario Reed fondly remembers the glory days. For him, one game in 1997 he'll never forget. He was just a sophomore for Millington High School football with the Trojans in the early running for a state title, facing Houston High School.
It was a big game.
But after the opening kickoff, Reed laid on the field, motionless.
Coach, I can't move anything. I can't feel anything.
From that moment on, his life changed forever.
I broke my neck and I pinched my fifth vertebrae, and it paralyzed me from the neck down.
Instead of letting it ruin his life, Reed has let it inspire him. He's used his story to motivate others, writing a book about his experience.
Resilience.
Now he's going to be the focus of a new documentary called A View Within, debuting this September, 2 decades since the accident.
Definitely be motivational to anyone that face life challenges. And when they think about quitting, just pretty much look at my story and look at what I've been through.
Recently, Reed got one of the highest honors he could have ever imagined with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
I've been nominated to receive the Perseverance Award.
That day in '97 took away Reed's dream of someday reaching the NFL, but it's given him a new reason to live, and that's helping others.
Life might throw you a lot of obstacles along the way, but you have to keep persevering through things, and you have to keep pushing. And along your way, you have to keep helping others.
He now has a new dream, to someday walk again. In Memphis, Chris Luther, WMC Action.
A former Millington High School football player paralyzed in 1997 while making a tackle for his team is once again making big plays on a new field. Mario Reed has been nominated this year by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for the Champion Within Perseverance Award. He once dreamed of becoming either a professional football player or a Navy SEAL, but says he has found a new passion in life, mentoring and inspiring young people.
Life might throw you a lot of obstacles along the way, but you have to keep persevering through things, and you have to keep pushing.
Reed's also releasing a documentary, The View Within. The Mario Reed documentary is set for release September 12th, 20 years to the day that he suffered his life-altering injury.
With a crowd of onlookers full of energy and ready to see the two teams go for the win in the Millington High School Stadium, Mario took to the field no differently than any other game. Prepared, determined, with purpose. The difference on the night of September 12th of 1997 would be life-changing.
3 things that they counted early in the day that I don't think a lot of people was aware of. I was in the classroom, and me and another young lady had a few words. She was threatening to do something to me, so I'm not going to let no one put their hands on me. It got to that point where we were sharing words back and forth in class, so we went to the office, and assistant principal sat both of us down and just gave me an ISS suspension. Initially, I wasn't supposed to play, but I went up to win, and I went up to play, so I went on and played in that nice game.
Leading up to that game, the whole week, we had really been focused on getting the team focused. We had played 3 games already. We lost to a very good South Panola team 2 weeks previous, and we really weren't playing our best football. We were kind of had high expectations for the team, so we had really, as a staff and the team, really trying to put our efforts into having a good ball game. Houston's going to be a great opponent. They're always a well-coached team. So we were looking to just kind of get our seasons back on track and get ready to make a playoff run.
We were playing a big rival, Houston High School, and we're both very good football teams.
Emotions were very high that night of the injury. We started off really hot. We were running the ball very well. We were pinning them back.
Atmosphere was electric. Everybody was going crazy in the stands. But Houston was a powerhouse at the time. We were both predicted like 4 and 5, and Danny doesn't.
Started out the game and got up on Houston pretty good. We were really starting to take over. Right before halftime, a Houston player had been injured pretty bad. He had a back injury, and the paramedics had to come on the field. The ambulance was called.
The young man from Houston High School had dislocated the hip. We had one break a leg. I mean, they were just flying around the football the way you coach them. to sell out for the program, and they were doing that.
We'd actually had a delay going into halftime, so we came out of halftime, got the kickoff, went downfield and scored. Like I said, we were up 20-0, and back then our football team, we didn't give up too many points on defense. Felt pretty confident. We didn't want to tell the kids, but I felt pretty confident that, this game was going to go our way.
We kicked back off to them. The kid that was running return football was coming up our sideline, and I was on the sideline going back to 45 or 43-yard line. The ball carrier was coming up the sideline right close to me. Mario was coming from the middle of the field, and as he approached the runner, cut back inside, Mario grabbed him and it slung him around. And when he slung around, Mario ran into one of his own teammates, Raphael Hines.
Unfortunately, Mario's head was down at a little level where when Raphael went to make his tackle, his thigh hit Mario in the crown of his helmet.
Then he fell back, and I saw his legs bounce, and as soon as his legs stopped bouncing, I watched his toes turn out.
And when that happened, I thought, well, maybe he just got his bell rung. That happens in football sometimes. And I said, hey, Mario, get up. Come on, dogface, get up. You're going to be okay. He said, Coach, I can't move.
As soon as he hit, I knew something was wrong. And I jumped down there on my hands and knees, and I says, what's wrong, Mario? What's wrong? And then he looked up at me. He looked at me and said, I can't move. And at that point in time, I jumped up and hollered for the doctor.
That's when it got real scary real quick. I started yelling for Dr. Bell, who was our team physician at the time. Like I said, it was a situation where it was one of the most exciting high school football games to be a part of. It's probably the scariest moment as a coach and an educator of my whole life.
Mario probably never should have been in the place that he was in, but it was only because of his hustle and determination. I can still remember the play. We had breakdown on our coverage, and Mario really came from the other side of the field to get involved with the play and was busting his rear end like we always knew he would to get involved, and that's when the injury occurred.
With any injured player, we have kind of a deal where we had a trainer on site who dealt with him, and one of our coaches, actually, Coach Wes Kenny, our offensive line coach, he went over and talked to Mario, and I didn't know how bad he was hurt, and Wes came and grabbed me and whispered in my ear, he says, this may be the real deal. He thought it was pretty tough injury. Dr. Lockman had come back across the field. The responders were dealing with him. I went down and spoke with him real quick. I went to the fence, looked up in the stands, trying to relay to our press box, if there are any other doctors in the house, we could use them on the field, and also trying to find anybody from Mario's family to talk to them.
After Mario got hurt, Coach Haney, Coach Hawkins got together and said, just call it the game. We took all the kids back inside and reassured them that Mario was going to be just fine.
The helicopter came, the airlift him out, and man, the whole mood of the stadium, man, was just quiet, shocked, and awe, trying to figure out, if he was going to be okay or not. But I remember that day like it was yesterday.
As a high school student, it kind of scares you. It scares you to death because, you know what I'm saying, that's your friend out there on the ground. All the coaches talk to us, get us away from, we're over there crying, going kind of hysterical. So it's a lot of mystery in the air because we don't know what's going on. None of us knew, the depth of the injury. We thought, well, maybe he had a stinger. Or maybe, it's like concussion.
It was almost surreal that we were in shock. We didn't know what was going on, really.
As we were ushering the gymnasium back there, and I'm peeking out, I see the helicopter landing, and I had no idea that injury was that serious.
Of course, many of us had never seen a helicopter before in our lives, or even land one, especially in the small city of Millington.
They had kind of kept us away from seeing what was going on, but it was definitely, at that time in my life, the scariest thing I've ever been a part of.
The whole stadium knew there was something very, very bad. And no one moved, and the helicopter came in and landed in the middle of the field. It's something I doubt anybody's ever seen before or since. The fire department carefully tied him down to the stretcher, and as they tried to put him into the helicopter, they realized the stretcher was too wide, and so they had to take him off and untie him and put him on another stretcher. And all this probably, I guess, lasted 45 minutes to an hour.
In the locker room, emotions were very high. We were young kids. We heard all kind of things. From he wasn't going to make it, he's paralyzed. In different corners, you had prayer sessions, you You had emotions that couldn't be controlled because, again, we were all young men, but at the same time, you had coaches who were very emotional. I just really commend the coaches that night because it was very hard to keep everyone together.
We had a pretty young coaching staff at that time, and I guess really it wouldn't have mattered if it was young, if it was old. This is not a situation that people know much about because, fortunately, not many players go through what Mario's gone through.
When I first found out about it, I was working for Youth Village at the time, and I was on call 24 hours. And then I decided this night I was going to go to Luther Vandross's concert. And so I turned my pager off. Before Mario went to the game, before we went to the concert, I told Mario not to play in the game. He had some disciplinary problems, and I told him not to play. And so after the concert, I turned the pager back on. And the pager went crazy. I mean, it just blowing up. And I thought it was some parents, calling me because the kids was being disrupted. But I finally returned the call, and we left the concert and we went to the hospital. They was real vague with me on the phone about what happened. They just said Mario got hurt and he was taken to the hospital. And then they told me, they said, well, he was airlifted. Well, of course, playing sports, there had to be something serious. But in my wildest dream, I never thought that it was a neck injury.
We was sitting down playing cards, and they called me and told me that Mario had got in the accident, and we rushed over there to the med.
I was actually at Merrill's game when I got a call and said he got hurt. And I left the game immediately and went to see what was going on.
When I got the phone call, it devastated me. I was with a couple of friends. Mario had a football game that Friday night, and as a matter of fact, I was supposed to go pick Mario up after the game. And when I got the call that he had been airlifted, I didn't understand the severity of his injury. And just as a normal day, I felt that Mario was going to bounce back and we would be back doing young boyish things that Saturday, and it just didn't turn out that way.
Got to the hospital, the kids, cheerleaders, everyone was just standing around, and I walked in and the whole waiting room just got quiet, and everybody was just looking at me. And of course I knew then, I knew it was something serious.
Pulling the med, I faintly remember hearing the helicopter blades whirling above my head. So I rush into the ER, or the entrance there. One of the nurses sees me and I say, I'm with the football player who's injured. And she said, hold up, stand right there. We'll get with you in just a minute, coach. And about that time I see a guy standing at the counter. He turns around and I can tell right away it was Mario's family. It was David Reed, his brother. And he came and introduced himself, and I introduced myself. And I'll never forget David, who just whispered to me, he said, hey, coach, he was doing what he loved.
I got a call from David. He told me Mario had got hurt.
The doctors finally came out, and the doctor told me that he suffered a broken neck. And I said, I looked at him, I said, what? He said, yes. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, his neck broke. The only thing kept his neck on was his spinal cord. I guess I was just stunned, and I said, well, can I see him? And he said, yeah. And he took me back. And
my first reaction when I seen him, I couldn't take it. As a sister, we very emotional.
He had this halo on him and stuff like that. And of course, he was crying, and I was trying to be strong and not show the tears. And I was looking at him, and I was talking, and I told him, I said, well, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
I was nervous, crying, and I was just torn up bad there.
As I saw him in the hospital, it made my body feel weak to see one of my loved ones before me just having a high spirit, and it really caught me off guard because I never thought that I would see Mario in a position like that, to where he's fighting tooth and nail for his life, and to see him at that point, it really hit close to home with me, being as close as we were during that time.
I had to leave, and I had to leave out, and I had to go to I had never told anyone this, but I had to go to the restroom. I went to the restroom, and I just couldn't believe it. I just threw up. I mean, I just said, how could this, how could this happen? I got myself back together, and I went back and I talked to my mom. And of course, my mom, she had no clue of what was going on.
I didn't know was he gonna live or die.
When I walked in, I went in the hospital in the intensive care room and saw and with all the people in there. I eventually went back and saw Mario. And that was the first time I really saw him wrapped up in that casket, and it just really got to me that time.
Once the doctors confirmed the diagnosis there at the med, it just shook us all to the core. I've been coaching football for a long time, been around it pretty much my whole life, but never experienced or seen an injury of this degree. It makes you just take a step back and, kind of question yourself, is this what I need to be doing? And that was definitely a thought I had for a while. Do I need to coach football?
When Mario got hurt, I decided that night, and I told my wife that I was through coaching football. The next morning we came in and I talked to the kids and told them that I was going to be through. And then I went to the hospital and talked to Mario, and Mario told me, he says, no, he says, you can't do that. You can't stop coaching. He said, they need you.
The night of the accident, of course, we weren't able to get into see Mario because it was a very scary time. But the next day, we were very lucky. Mario was asking for visitors, and I remember going in, I'm thinking, all right, God, just give me some kind of positive word, something to say to Mario to get his mind off what he's going through. I laid down and told him, hey, Mario, kind of woke him up. I said, hey, it's Coach Griffin. I just want to let you know, man, I love you. I hope everything, we're behind you, man. It's going to be okay. And the one thing I remember, he didn't say, why me? Why did this happen to me? Or complain about anything. He just asked me, he said, Coach, did we win the game? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Here's a young man fighting not just to walk again, but he's fighting for his life. And all he cared about was, did his team win a football game? And I immediately said, yeah, man, we won. I said, but what about you? He said, oh, don't worry, Coach. I got this. And when he said that, it just reminded me of just what a great young man he really was. This is a young man that, of all the players on this football team, we had some great athletes that went on to play in the SEC, played professionally. But he is by far the strongest young man that I've ever been blessed to say I coached.
He never really thought about himself the whole time he was going through this injury. He was always thinking about the team. He was thinking about his coach's staff. He was thinking about his family.
When he got hurt, I went up to the hospital and I saw Mario. He wasn't doing too well the first night. But the next day I come up there, even though he was hurt, he was still smiling. He taught me how to be. He just still smiling and still uplifted about everything that was going on, even though he was hurt.
We had a team meeting that next day. We were trying to think of things to do to honor Mario. We decided a few things to do. We took all our decals off our helmet and we replaced them with the number 29 sticker. 29 was Mario's number. And the coaches put 29 on their caps, put 29s on, like I've said, the helmets. Mario's family was gracious enough to us as coaches that when Mario was in the ICU trauma unit and he had the visiting hours, they would let one coach go in during some of the family times. Coach Hawkins, who was our head coach at that time, called back and said that Mario had taken a turn for the worse and didn't know if he was going to wind up making it. We thought the worst part of this scenario we had already been through on the weekend and finding out what type of injury and the paralysis that Mario was going to have. And then we're finding out that Mario may not make it. When I got home that Thursday night, I told my wife that Mario was alive in the morning. I was going to get a 29 tattoo. I got up that Friday morning, found out Mario made it through the night, and I decided it was time to go get a tattoo. So I got the number 29 tattooed on my arm, and I told the gentleman who was the tattoo artist, I said, look, I just want a 29. I said, I want to know that I'm going to see it every morning when I get up, get ready to get in the shower. Not anything that's big, not anything that's massive. It's something that reminds me of Mario on a continual basis. You know, Mario will always be in our minds. We'll always remember that. I've got sons that play athletics. Of course, you never envision anybody possibly having the type of injury that Mario's had. But this 29 reminds me every day of what Mario Reed meant to us, meant to me, and what he's had to go through on a daily basis.
The next day, I pretty much still unaware of what happened. And they told me what happened was which I broke my neck and pinched my C5 vertebrae, and I was paralyzed. As a 15-year-old, I'm still not fully aware of what paralysis is, and I'm thinking it's something temporarily, not knowing that I wasn't going to be able to move anything from my neck down. I pretty much asked my mother to give me a camera to let me see myself, and she asked me did I really want to see that, and for her showing me a little mercy, she showed me a camera, and I looked up at the camera. I saw a halo with 8 screws in my head. I saw a trach in my throat. I noticed I couldn't talk at the time. She started to put the camera down towards my chest and my legs, and I noticed that I probably lost over 30 pounds of muscle within probably a 15, 17-hour time period. So instantly, tears rolled out of my eyes. I asked her, what have I done to myself? She told me, she said, you suffered a severe blow. And her David explained to me exactly what happened, and the doctors came in and told me what happened. He told me that it's a chance that I might have to live on a ventilator for the rest of my life. And they basically told them that I probably won't move anything from the neck down because I suffered a blow so high to the brain. So at that time, I eventually felt like I was into a deep depression. Tears rolled out my eyes. I told them I was in pain, so the nurse saw that I was pretty much like a panic mode, so she helped sedate me, and I eventually went on back to sleep. And the next visit hours, my family was still there, right there with me, and I started to ask more questions. Did we win? Things like that, because I'm a winner. I want to know did we win, and I want to know what happened. And they told me exactly what happened. And I asked them how I'm gonna live my life like this. I had everything prepared, laid out for me. Why did this happen to me? A lot of questions went through my mind, and it was just so overwhelming that I won't believe it. I said, it's too much. Just put a gun in the court. Just let me die. I don't want to live my life like this. So my family told me, we're not going to do that. We're here, we're family. We're going to help you get through this. We just have to take it one day at a time.
So Mario sustained a spinal cord injury at the level of C5, and this quantifies him as a quadriplegic. This is due to the fact of his injury being above the level of T1. So within our body, our spinal cord is the connection between our brain and the way that we move and function, and the way that we interpret the outside world and sense the outside world. So what this meant for Mario initially was that he was even unable to breathe on his own and required a ventilator for help.
The road to recovery for Mario was more than just physical. The road to recovery opened paths for him to become stronger mentally and strengthen those around him. It is a path that he took on without hesitation.
Weeks of intensive and difficult rehabilitation would follow at Baylor University in Dallas.